Okay, today we're going to talk about the life extending properties of some of the things that we've developed, Rich and I, and also how they interface with the influences of the genes, as I've spoken of in the past. Okay, first we start out with, let's see here, people today. And I'm saying that their lifespan's about 75 to 80 years old. And so that's the red line here at the bottom. Next one up is what expansion could be with no gene influences. So that would be 200 years old. Maybe 300. Next is with the influences as they appear to be, and that's about 800 years, which was pre-flood. And there is a fairly significant increase. Okay, so what's the point of showing you this graph again? First thing is living 80 years old with the problems we have in our society. Why? The quality of life today is very poor compared to even when Washington and Jefferson were living to be 80 years old. Most people have serious problems with things like Alzheimer's, which probably may have existed then, but certainly was nothing like it is today. And then we have the problems with joint conditions so what happens when we get to the second part here, the second dot, which is a blue dot, which is the no Pleiadian genes. Basically the quality of life would be excellent, and you would have none of these serious problems that I'm talking about, like arthritis, heart disease, cancer, whatever, and you would just run out. Now, I'm not sure what you would die from, but there certainly is a genetic influence at some point, and it's hard to say what that would be. But I mean, the chances are you just fall over and die. I don't know. We'll have to find that out. Okay, what are some of the other negative influences that affect our lives today that could be fixed? One of them is basically the health and beauty aids that people use. Almost all of them have, if you go back to my first book, the various poisons that exist and are allowed by the FDA. And why these are allowed, I don't know. I think probably to protect the soap companies and the people that sell us stuff, because everybody assumes that we're protected by our government, and that's false. For the most part, all of these things have serious detrimental problems. Okay, let's go back to one of the most basic things for health that the food and drug companies sell, and that's multivitamins. They're probably, if anything, a big detriment in terms of what compared to what they could be. You can go online and buy some very good things like methyl B12, methyl B6, and other organic vitamins and foods that will extend your lifetime. However, if you take a multivitamin like one a day. I don't want to point my finger in particular one because they're all poor, but the highest selling ones are the worst ones for you. So just as interesting is the fact that probably the most valuable health benefit you can get from any food or supplement is the one designed specifically for horses and not people. The FDA will not allow MSM to be sold unless it's distilled, in which case the health benefits are about, as far as I can determine, maybe 40% of what the MSM for horses gives you. And again, when you heat up anything, when you distill it, you take away many of its properties. It's just the same thing with food when you cook it. So when you cook it under especially high heat, all food, for the most part, becomes much less efficient in how it works in your system. So, and there are a few exceptions, but for the most part, you can find this all out online. I'm not going to go into it in any detail. But when you cook most greens, they lose their qualities in certain ways, while other foods increase in their bioavailability, which is important, is the most important thing here. But these are the exceptions, not the rule. Cooking food in general makes it less bioavailable. Okay, let's go into another aspect of this. Drinking water. Our drinking water in almost all cities contains fluorides, and fluorides affect us in some many negative ways, and there's no reason for them whatsoever. They're trash. They're garbage that companies want to get rid of. They don't help your teeth. That's been proven. But what they do is they have serious hormonal problem, cause serious hormonal problems with young girls. They cause them to mature early. They cause hormonal problems all the way up the line, as far as I can see. In the earlier tape, I mentioned that the lifespan in, I believe it was actually Scotland, but in Britain, they went back and they looked into the funeral above ground burial sites and found that the average person lived around 22 years old, and the oldest person was in their early 50s. So the question is, why do people live so much longer today as I'm saying, our life extending health is so poor? And I'm saying it's basically public health that's caused our life extension, such as we have sewer. One of the things that almost everybody agrees on is that our emergency care, at least in this country, the United States, is incredibly good. And if you're in a car accident and you're bleeding to death, you certainly want to have the medical care that is offered. But long-term benefits of our hospitals are incredibly bad. And that's the point I'm trying to make today, and have been making all along. If you got cancer, the last thing in the world you want to do is to go in and get radiation therapy, which maybe has gotten better according to the people that do it, but radiation is a killer, and everybody knows it. So, if you have some kind of cancer, and it doesn't really matter what it is, except for the fact that vital organs are, of course, essential. And if you have cancer of the liver, you wouldn't have a very good chance of survival if it's gone very far, because your whole body depends on the liver to deliver the chemicals that you need to live. But and you can't get heart cancer, so that's kind of strange. The reason is that you need your heart. You need your heart for a lot of reasons, so you don't get it. But every other part of your body you can survive with to a certain extent, including brain cancer. But yeah, we shouldn't really be calling cancers by where they are located. Instead, they're just cancer, and they occur wherever your liver sends it, because your liver is in charge of saving your life at that point. So you've got toxins coming into your body, and your liver says, can't have them here, so let's send them to your skin, your brains, your other organs, and try to save your life for a while. And that's the way it works. Now, if you go to your cancer specialist and he gives you radiation treatment or chemo or virtually any of these so-called life-extending cancer treatments, and they keep on bringing them out all the time. They're no better than they were for the most part. If you go to Rich and he puts you on a fractal stack, and you've been to a doctor that's put you on chemo for any length of time, there's nothing more he can do. He can't help you. But if you just left it alone and you had a bad case of, say, of some other kind of melanoma, whatever, there's a chance that he could intervene and save your life right up to the day you die, as long as you haven't been touched by someone with these modern techniques. Okay, there are lots of other life-extending techniques that I've talked about in my books and also on other videos here. But the one I want to end up with is food, because food is one of the essential life-extending things in your life, and the less of it you eat, the better off you are for the most part. Just because our food is grown under poor conditions, and both meat and vegetables are not particularly good for you for the most part. But if they were grown under good conditions, say for instance, if you eat deer that ran loose and did not get into corn, which would be rare in the United States. Maybe there are other places in the world where you could eat wild animals and not have them get involved with GMOs and things like that in the crops. But if you could get good dense meat, that's real good for you. It's real good for your brains. It's good for your body. And wild or carefully grown vegetables are extremely good for you, greens especially. But I'm not sure we're going to need them very much longer. So hopefully that's going to be the case. So you don't have to get involved with these these problems that we have with modern society, what we call modern society. Uh, we've taken a lot of steps backwards in the last 20,000 years, and we call that progress. Mainly what the progress has been with others, not with the people. We've gotten lots of good ways to get to take money out of people's pockets and put them in the hands of people that claim to save your life or help you in certain ways, and they seldom do. So one of the best ways to get food is to raise it yourself and under conditions that you know about, and that would be, say, for instance, I grow broccoli and tomatoes, which are not one of my favorite fruits, but right outside of my window, and I throw all my food there. Well, that food would be great for the crops, and also I run my sink drain into that same garden, so it's underground irrigated, and I have a underground irrigation system designed to supply water to the roots. But none of that is particularly bioavailable compared to real wild stuff that we had here not even a few hundred years ago. But I don't use any fertilizers, and I don't use any insect repellents or anything like that on my own garden, and those things are deadly. One of the GMOs that are designed to protect the crops from by using chemicals to kill the insects are incredibly bad, and I don't ever see those in my food. But because of that, all of that, I would prefer meat over vegetables in a lot of occasions now, and I would also prefer over meat ocean fish or even pond fish around here, because they don't have the chance to get as much of the bad runoff that occurs. Still, they do. I don't know how much that affects, say, a bass that you catch in one of the local ponds. I really would say probably not that much, but it's hard to say. I can't say. I just know that ocean fish in the Atlantic Ocean right now are for the most part unaffected by what's happened at Fukushima reactor, and that's coming. It's coming fast, and we'll see how long it takes for that reactor stream to get around the Japan current and across the United States to the Atlantic, and across the Atlantic to get into our fish in the Atlantic. It's hard to say. Don't know, but it's not. Let me wrap this up with a final rundown on what you could do to get yourself up to the top line from say the 80 line. That would be without any Pleiadian influence on your genetics, and that would be the water that we're working on right now, or way back water, or and our water is going to be better than way back water when it comes out, but as we see it, because it's not as harsh. But still, 4 nanometer water will definitely extend your life quite a bit, and none of these other waters on the web can do that, as far as I know. I don't think anybody else has any water that can get into your tissues this quickly Now, there's a downside to this because when you have that much hydration, it definitely causes your food to move through your bowels really quickly, because you're just not set up for that kind of that much hydration. Still, there's no real downside to that as far as I know. The next thing is I've talked to you a lot, and I've written a lot about high level MSM, and if you look at the methyl cycles, and there are 3 of them in the cells, in the mitochondria energy cycle, and methylation is really a big key to how well you use your energy, how efficiently you use it, and so therefore high level, and I'm talking about at least 2 tablespoons a day for somebody my age, will supercharge your system at levels you've never seen before, and you'll become healthy within 3 months in a way that you've never felt, and your energy levels will be through the roof compared to what they are now. But you add that water that we're talking about, and the two together become incredibly helping to your system. All right, and along with that, my friend Rich can increase your mitochondrial level by about 2.5 times per cell what it is for a normal person in their 20s, and even at birth, your mitochondrial level might be at the max of an average of 800 per cell. Now it varies throughout your body, but when you got 2,000 mitochondria per cell average, your energy levels are basically 2.5 times what they are at the maximum in your life otherwise. And of course, we have the telomere lengthening ability, and we don't really know how that changes things, because that nobody's ever really proven how that works. But Rich can go through your chromosomes, and not your chromosomes, your DNA spirals, and if he sees anything wrong with those, he can fix those also. So we're talking about some benefits, possible benefits for many adults that are totally unavailable anywhere else. So you add that to the 2 things that I've just spoken about, and you got a Superman, as far as I can see. So that's a talk for today. Life extension is going to be available at high rates. It's available now, and Rich has trained people all over the United States to, as time goes on, to do exactly what he does.